The alien child had always been curious, always hungry, always reaching for things that were not his. His eyes were wide and full of wonder, but also full of need, his small hand shaking with the desire to hold something new, something bright, something alive. He was different from the others of his kind. While they stayed close to the cold caves of their home, the child wandered far. He wandered where he should not wander that day. His feet touched human soil for the first time. He had heard stories, whispered warnings, voices saying, "Do not go near the fields of humans. They protect their ground. They guard their plants. They do not forgive trespassers." But the child did not listen. His stomach ached. His heart raced and his eyes caught sight of colors he had never seen before. The vegetables were glowing under the light of the sun, red tomatoes shining like jewels, green leaves dancing in the wind, golden corn standing tall like soldiers. The child's mouth watered. His thin arms stretched forward. He could almost taste them before even touching. No food on his world ever looked so alive, no plant ever looked so rich. He bent down slowly, his small fingers brushing the cool skin of a tomato. His pulse quickened. He pressed harder, feeling the softness of life beneath his touch. He pulled one closer, greed burning in his chest. This was food, real food, not the dry roots of his home, not the bitter stones his people boiled. This was life. For a moment, he forgot fear. He forgot warnings. He forgot that humans were said to be dangerous. He only thought of his hunger, of his people starving, of his own empty stomach. He thought of carrying these treasures back. He thought of being a hero, the one who dared and the one who brought hope. But shadows were watching. The earth was never empty. The child did not see the eyes, but the soil did. The ground carried the footsteps, and the humans felt it. They were the watchers of the soil, protectors of the roots. They knew when something touched what was theirs. They always knew. The child plucked a single tomato, his heart pounding with victory. He held it close, smelling its sweet scent. His mouth opened, ready to take a bite. But then he froze. The air changed, the wind grew still. The field became quiet, too quiet. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. His skin prickled. Something was wrong. He turned his head slowly, and his eyes widened. There, at the edge of the field, stood a figure, tall, silent, unmoving, its eyes fixed on him. The child's breath caught, his small chest heaving. The tomato slipped from his fingers and fell back into the dirt. He stumbled back, but his feet tangled in the vines. The figure stepped forward. The human farmer's face was not angry. Not yet, but it was strong. It was firm. It was a face carved by years under the sun, eyes hard from seasons of labor, hands calloused from protecting the land. The child saw no smile, no welcome, only weight. Heavy weight in those eyes. The child tried to speak, his voice small, broken. "Please, I only wanted one." But the words trembled and vanished in the stillness. The human said nothing, only bent down, picked up the fallen tomato and brushed the dirt from its skin, holding it as if it were treasure, as if it were gold. Not food. The child's heart pounded harder. Why did the human care so much? Why guard plants like soldiers guard a king? Why hold the soil with such respect? The child could not understand, but he felt it. He felt the power in the human silence. He felt the warning in every step closer. Behind the first figure, others appeared. More humans walking from the far end of the field. They carried no weapons, but they carried something heavier. They carried purpose, unity, strength in their calm movement. The child felt smaller, weaker, his greed turning into fear. He thought of running, but where would he go? He was already caught. The humans formed a circle, slow, deliberate, closing around him, their shadows falling over the plants, their presence filling the air. The child clutched his chest, his breath sharp and fast. He whispered inside, "They know, they saw, they will not forgive." He remembered the warnings, the voices, the fear that others spoke, and now he believed them. The first human finally spoke, voice deep, steady, every word falling heavy like stone. "This ground is not yours, little one." The sound shook the child, not because it was loud, but because it carried weight. It carried truth. The child lowered his head, his eyes burning, his hands trembling. He had touched what should not be touched. The child felt the soil beneath his knees, warm, alive, but no longer his to dream of. It belonged to them, to these humans who stood tall and silent, protectors of their earth, guardians of their roots, and he realized then he had awakened something he did not understand, something greater than hunger, greater than greed. The child looked up one last time, meeting the unbroken gaze of the human leader, and in that gaze he saw the message clear. You may come from the stars, but here on this ground the soil belongs to us. And the child shivered, knowing this was only the beginning. The circle of humans grew tighter, slow steps pressing against the ground, boots sinking into the soft soil, each step sounding heavy in the child's ears. The alien child's small body trembled. His eyes darted left and right looking for an escape. But the humans closed all paths like walls of flesh and stone. The humans were not shouting. They were not chasing. They did not even lift their hands. Yet the child felt trapped, his chest burning with fear. It was not their weapons that scared him, for they carried none. It was their silence, the stillness of their eyes, the way they looked at the ground more than they looked at him, as if the earth itself was more important than the intruder who dared touch it. One of the humans knelt down, his hand brushing over the soil where the tomato had fallen. His fingers moved with care as if touching a wounded friend. He pressed the soil gently, covering the roots again, and only then did he raise his head toward the child, eyes filled not with anger but with something heavier, something the child could not name. The alien child whispered again, "I was hungry." His voice cracked, weak, like a dry twig in the wind. But the humans did not soften. Their faces remained firm, shaped by years of labor under the burning sun, faces that carried the weight of storms and seasons. They had seen hunger before, they had fought it, and they knew the cost of letting greed touch their ground. The leader stepped forward, his shadow stretching over the plants, his voice steady, slow but sharp as stone. "Do you know what soil is, little one?" The child blinked, confused, words tumbling in his head. "It is dirt," he answered, his tone unsure, his fingers clinging to his own arms. "It is ground we walk on." A murmur ran through the humans, soft but deep like distant thunder. One of them shook her head, another spat into the dust. The leader's lips tightened, his eyes narrowing. "Dirt?" he said. "You call it dirt?" He bent down and scooped a handful of the soil, holding it in his palm, dark and rich, grains falling through his fingers like sand, but alive, breathing. The leader stretched out his hand, showing the child, "This is not dirt, this is life. Every seed, every root, every breath of our people depends on this." He let the soil slide back to the ground, his eyes never leaving the child's face. "You touched it with greed, and greed kills faster than hunger." The child's lips parted, but no words came. His throat felt tight. His eyes moved to the plants again, their green leaves shivering in the faint wind. He saw them differently now, not just as food, but as something guarded, something sacred he did not understand, but he felt the weight pressing on him. Another human, a woman with strong arms and sharp eyes, stepped closer, her voice fierce. "We fought wars to keep this land. We buried our dead in this soil. We fed our children with its gifts. You think you can take it like a toy?" She pointed at the ground, her finger steady. "Every inch here has blood, every root here has sweat." The alien child's heart hammered. He thought of his own people, starving in caves, scraping at dry stone. They never guarded their soil because their soil gave nothing. It was dead, empty, nothing like this living ground. He wanted to speak of his people, to beg for pity, but the weight in the humans' voices silenced him. The leader turned, his hand brushing one of the tall cornstalks, his voice softer now, almost sad. "Once, even we forgot the value of soil. We poisoned it with greed. We let it turn to dust and we paid the price. Famine, hunger, death. We learned too late that soil is not endless, that once destroyed, it does not return." He looked back at the child, his eyes steady. "That is why we guard it now. That is why we never let strangers touch it." The alien child swallowed hard, his small chest rising and falling fast, his thoughts twisting. He had thought humans were greedy, always taking, always fighting, but here they were, protecting, guarding, not for gold, not for weapons, but for the ground itself, for the plants, for life still. The hunger inside him burned still. The greed whispered, "Take it, just one more," but his fear held him still, surrounded by the watchers of the soil, his body heavy with their gaze, his voice trapped in his throat. The humans did not strike him. They did not chase him away. Instead, they stood still, silent, watching him with unbroken eyes as if waiting for him to understand, waiting for him to speak. The silence pressed down harder than chains, heavier than stone. The child finally whispered, his voice trembling. "Why guard it so much? It is only plants, only roots, they grow again." The leader's eyes darkened, the circle of humans stepped closer, and the air thickened with their presence. The leader's reply came like a low growl, calm but sharp, "Because once you lose the ground beneath your feet, you lose everything, little one. You lose your future, your people, your very breath." He pointed at the soil, strong and steady. "This ground is life, and we will protect it. Always. The alien child's skin prickled. Fear crawling over him, but deeper than fear. Something else stirred. A spark of understanding, faint but growing. He looked at the soil again, not just as food, not just as dirt, but as something alive. Something that held power, but before he could speak, before he could ask more, another human stepped forward, his eyes hard, his voice firm. The question now is not why we guard it, but what you will do. Will you respect it, or will you try again to steal? The circle tightened, the child's breath caught. And he knew the moment had come. The soil beneath him warm, alive, the humans above him fierce and unyielding, and in that heavy silence the alien child realized the soil had chosen its watchers well. The circle of humans did not break, their shadows long across the field. Their eyes locked on the alien child, the air heavy, every sound swallowed by the silence. The alien child's heart pounded, his hands shaking. Yet curiosity, stronger than fear, pushed inside him. He could not stop the question burning in his chest. He lifted his small face, his voice thin but steady. Why do you love this soil so much? His eyes moved from one human to another, desperate for an answer. It is only ground, only dirt. It can be taken, it can be replaced. Why protect it like treasure? The humans did not laugh, they did not mock. They only stared with steady eyes until the leader bent down again, pressing his fingers into the soil, lifting it slowly, letting the grains fall back. His voice deep and calm. Because this soil is not dirt. It is the skin of the earth. It feeds us, it holds us. It keeps us alive. Without it, we are nothing. The child frowned, his mind racing. But you can grow food elsewhere. There are many worlds, many places. His tone was sharp, filled with the boldness of youth. Why keep your ground like it is holy? One of the humans stepped forward, a woman with eyes like sharp steel, her voice firm. Because this ground remembers. It carries the weight of our past. It carries the sweat of our labor, the tears of our hunger, the blood of our dead. Every inch of it tells our story. It is not only soil, it is memory. The alien child blinked, his small chest heaving. He had never thought of ground as memory. His own world had empty stone. Nothing grew, nothing lived, no roots to hold the past, no plants to tell stories, only dust and hunger. He whispered, "My people, they do not protect soil because it gives nothing. It is dead." His voice cracked. "But yours gives so much. Why share it only with yourselves?" The leader's eyes hardened, his voice like stone striking stone. "Because sharing without respect brings ruin. We learned this truth the hard way when greed poisons soil. When too many hands take and none protect, the land dies, and once dead, it never returns." The child's small hands tightened. He thought of his people again, starving, searching, dying. He felt anger rise. But what if I take it away? What if I carry it back? Then my people can live too. His eyes burned with a mixture of hope and defiance. Why should humans keep life only for themselves? The words cut through the field. Sharp and dangerous, the humans shifted, their eyes narrowing, the circle closing tighter, the air colder, heavier. The leader stepped closer, his shadow falling over the child. His voice slow and firm. "If you take without respect, you will bring only death to your people, not life. Soil does not give to thieves. It gives to guardians." The child trembled, his breath sharp, yet the hunger in his heart screamed louder than fear. He imagined his people's faces, the thin children, the hollow eyes of the elders. He imagined himself returning as a savior, carrying the secret of human ground, carrying the plants that could end their hunger. He whispered again, "But what if I take it anyway?" The woman stepped closer, her eyes fierce, her voice like fire. "Then you will face us, child, and you will learn that we protect not with weapons but with unity, with memory, with fire in our hearts. Our soil is our life, and no one steals life from us." The child's throat tightened, fear rising, but curiosity still pulled him. Deeper and deeper. What makes it so strong? His voice softer now, almost begging. "What makes your soil alive when ours is dead?" The leader sighed, his eyes softening. For the first time, a shadow of sorrow crossed his face. "Because we learned to care, little one. Because we chose to protect instead of consume. Because every seed we plant, we guard. Every root we water, we defend. Our soil is alive because we keep it alive, and that is why we stand as watchers." The child's heart twisted. He saw the truth in their eyes. He felt the weight in their words. He understood a little, but not enough. The hunger still screamed. The greed still whispered. He could not silence it. His hands twitched, as if they still wished to grab another tomato, another piece of life. Even with the circle closing tighter, the humans watched him, their eyes unblinking, waiting, testing, the silence burning until the leader bent again, his hand digging into the ground. Pulling something small, something fragile, he opened his palm, and there it was, a seed, tiny, simple, almost invisible, yet powerful. The leader held it before the child's eyes, his voice calm but heavy. "This is the secret, little one. This is life." The alien child's eyes widened. His breath caught. It was so small, so fragile. How could something so tiny hold power, he whispered. This is what you protect?" The leader nodded, his hand closing gently. "Yes, because in this small seed lies a future. Food, hope, survival, without the soil. The seed is nothing, without respect. The seed dies, but with care it becomes life. Endless life." The child stared, his mind spinning, his chest heavy. He wanted the seed, he wanted it more than anything. His fingers twitched, his heart raced, yet the human's eyes burned into him, fierce and unbroken, warning him without words, telling him this seed was not his to steal. The alien child lowered his head, his voice weak. "I do not understand everything, but I want to," and the human stood still. Their silence like a wall, their presence like stone. The child's curiosity burned stronger, but so did the fear, and in that moment he knew. This lesson was only beginning, and the soil itself seemed to wait, to test, to see what choice he would make. The alien child's eyes stayed on the small seed in the leader's hand. His heart pounding, his mind racing, he wanted it. He wanted to grab it and run, but something heavier than fear held him still. The unbroken gaze of the humans, the silent power of their circle, the way the earth itself seemed to breathe with them. The leader closed his fist gently, the seed safe in his palm, his voice steady. "This is why we protect our soil. This is why we never let greed touch it. Because in this seed lies our strength. Not in weapons, not in machines, but in life that grows, in roots that endure, in soil that remembers." The alien child swallowed hard, confusion mixing with awe, his voice trembling. "But how can soil be strength? You cannot fight wars with roots, you cannot guard your people with plants." His words cracked with disbelief. "How can this protect you?" The humans looked at each other, their faces carved with lines of memory. Then the woman with steel eyes stepped forward, her arms crossed, her voice sharp. "You are wrong, child. Our soil is our shield, our weapon, our home. Do you want to see what happens when it is poisoned? Do you want to see the cost of forgetting?" The alien child froze, his breath catching. The circle opened slightly, and the humans gestured for him to follow. His legs trembled, but curiosity pulled him again, stronger than fear. He walked slowly behind them, his eyes darting from their heavy boots pressing into the ground, to the tall plants swaying, as if bowing to their guardians. They walked beyond the green rows, past the rich field, until the air grew heavier, the ground harder, the smell sharper, bitter. The child's nose wrinkled, his stomach turned. The bright leaves disappeared, and before him stretched a field of gray, soil cracked like broken stone, lifeless, silent, a graveyard of earth. The alien child stopped, his chest tight, his eyes wide. This ground looked like his own world, dead, empty, hopeless. He whispered, "What happened here?" The leader's face hardened, his eyes deep with shadow. "This is what greed does. This is what comes when men take without giving back. When they drain the earth and leave it bleeding. This was once living soil, full of life, full of food, but it was destroyed, and it will never heal." The child knelt down, his small fingers brushing the gray dust. It crumbled in his hand, falling apart like ash. No roots, no breath, nothing, only death. His chest ached, a weight sinking inside him. He whispered, "It feels empty, colder than stone." His eyes lifted, fear flickering. "You mean this can happen everywhere?" The woman's voice cut sharp. "Yes, and it almost ended us. We nearly lost everything. Not because of enemies, not because of war, but because we forgot the value of soil. We forgot to protect it, and it turned against us." The alien child's throat tightened. His mind racing, he remembered his own people's dead soil, their endless hunger, and for the first time, he understood. Humans were strong not because their soil was different, but because they learned, they chose to fight for it. They refused to let it die again. The leader's voice grew heavy, his words slow. "Our strength is not in the ground alone, but in our choice to guard it, to defend it, to never let it be taken again. That is why we stand. That is why we watch, because we know what it means to lose. And we will never lose again." The alien child trembled, awe and fear mixing inside him. He whispered, So this is your power. Not weapons, not armies, but memory, protection, unity. His eyes lowered, shame burning in his chest. And I thought it was only dirt. The humans stood tall, their shadows falling long across the broken field. The silence around them heavy, their faces hard but true. The child felt smaller than ever, weaker but also wiser, a spark of respect glowing deep inside him. Even if the hunger still burned, the woman stepped closer, her eyes piercing, her words sharp as a blade. You thought you could take from us, steal our soil, steal our life, but now you see, child, our strength is not only in what we have, but in how we keep it, how we protect it. No thief can break us. No stranger can take what we guard. The alien child's breath shook. He felt the truth pressing into him. Humans were dangerous not because of their weapons, but because of their will, their unity, their unbreakable bond with the ground beneath their feet. He felt fear, but also strange hope. If his people could learn this lesson, maybe they too could save their soil. Maybe they too could live. The leader bent down, lifting a handful of gray dust, letting it fall through his fingers, his voice deep, warning. This is what waits for any who forget, for any who steal without care. This is what greed gives. He dropped the last of it, his eyes burning into the child's. And this is why we will never forgive those who try to take what we guard. The alien child's heart raced. He clutched his chest, the silence heavier than ever, his mind torn between hunger and fear, between greed and respect. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "If I try to take it, you will stop me." The humans did not answer with words, they only stood, their eyes unbroken, their silence louder than any threat, and the child shivered, knowing that humans were more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Not because they attack first, but because they protect until the last breath. The alien child stood frozen before the lifeless ground, his feet sinking into dust that crumbled like ashes, his hands trembling, his eyes wide with fear and disbelief. The soil stretched endless, cracked like dry skin, empty of roots, empty of breath. It felt colder than stone, heavier than silence. The humans stood tall behind him, their faces carved with memory, their eyes filled with the weight of history. The leader's voice broke the silence, slow, heavy, like thunder rolling through the air. This is what happens when greed wins, when the soil is treated as dirt, when hands take and never give back. The child's small chest heaved, his voice weak. It looks like my world. His eyes lowered, pain filling his face. Our ground is like this, empty, dead. Nothing grows, only dust, only hunger. His voice cracked. We thought it was fate. We thought soil was weak, but now I see it was us. We never protected it. The woman with steel eyes stepped closer, her gaze sharp as a blade. Yes, and if you do not learn, if you keep touching with greed, your people will vanish as ours almost did. Soil does not forgive, it remembers, it punishes those who betray it. The child bent down, his small fingers scooping the gray dust. It fell apart instantly, slipping through his hands like shadows. He whispered, "It feels dead, like it has no heart." His eyes lifted to the leader, desperate. "Can it live again? Can you heal it?" The leader's face darkened, his eyes heavy with sorrow. "No, little one, once the soil dies, it cannot be healed, not in years, not in lifetimes. We tried, we begged, we labored, but nothing returned. Only silence, only emptiness." He pointed at the lifeless ground, his voice hard. "This is the price of forgetting, the price of greed." The child's heart sank, his body weak, his thoughts racing. He imagined his own people's caves, the starving faces, the endless search for food. He felt shame twist in his chest, his greed now heavy like chains, his curiosity now laced with fear. The woman's voice rose again, strong and fierce. "We show you this not to scare you, but to teach you, to make you understand. Soil is not dirt. It is life. It must be protected, guarded, respected. If you touch it with hunger, it will die. If you touch it with care, it will live, but once gone, nothing can bring it back." The alien child looked around, the vast dead field stretching farther than his eyes could see. He shivered, whispering, "Your soil lives because you protect it. Ours died because we did not." He lowered his head. "And I came here to steal, thinking I could save my people with greed, but I see now, I would have only killed what little hope we had." The leader's eyes softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. "You begin to understand, little one, but understanding is not enough. Choice matters. Action matters. Will you still take, or will you learn?" The circle of humans stood silent, their eyes unbroken, their presence heavy. The child felt their gaze press into his very soul. He wanted to run. He wanted to hide, but he also wanted to know more. To learn the secret that gave them strength, he whispered, "Teach me. Please, show me how you protect. Show me how you keep it alive." The leader bent down, pressing his hand into the living soil at the edge of the dead field. His voice steady. "We give back what we take. We labor, we water, we wait, we do not demand, we do not rush. We remember that the soil is older than us, wiser than us, and we live because it allows us to live." The child listened, his small hands pressed into the dust, his heart aching. "My people do not know this. They only know hunger, they take and take. Because nothing ever grows, maybe if they learn." His voice trailed, his eyes filling with tears. But will they listen to a child? The woman's voice softened now, a rare warmth in her sharp tone. "If you carry the truth, if you carry respect, even a child's words can plant seeds, even a small voice can grow roots." The child looked up, hope flickering inside him, fragile but alive. For the first time he saw a path, not of stealing, not of taking, but of learning, of carrying wisdom back to his people. His small chest lifted, his voice steadier. "Then I will try, I will carry this lesson." The humans exchanged glances, their eyes unreadable. The leader studied the child for a long moment, then slowly reached into his pocket, pulling out something small, something wrapped in cloth. He opened it, and inside rested another seed, tiny, simple but full of silent power. He held it before the child, his voice calm. "One seed, one chance, carry it with respect, or lose it with greed." The child's eyes widened. His hands trembling, he reached out, but before he could touch, the leader's voice hardened. "Remember, little one, this seed is not food, it is a promise. If you plant it with care, it will give. If you plant it with greed, it will die. Your choice will decide the future of your people." The child's hand hovered, his heart racing, his mind torn. Hunger screamed at him to take it, to eat it, to end his pain. But hope whispered louder, "This is not for me, this is for them. This is for the future." He closed his small hand slowly around the seed, his eyes wet, his voice soft but strong. "I will protect it." The humans nodded, their silence approving, their eyes watching, heavy and unbroken. The child clutched the seed close to his chest, a fragile weight but heavier than any stone. And as the wind swept across the dead field, carrying the echo of forgotten lives, the alien child realized he now carried the burden of two worlds, and the soil itself seemed to whisper, testing him, "Will you protect or will you destroy?" The alien child held the seed close to his chest, his small hands trembling, his heart heavy, his mind torn. The circle of humans stood around him, silent and steady, their eyes unbroken, waiting, testing. The seed felt warm in his hand, but also heavy, heavier than stone, heavier than hunger. The child's thoughts twisted like tangled roots. Part of him screamed with greed. "Eat it now, taste life, fill your stomach." But another part whispered softer, "No, protect it, carry it home. It is not for you, it is for them." The voices fought inside him, hunger clawing, hope pushing back. He looked up at the leader, his voice shaking. "If I carry this seed, my people may live. But what if they laugh at me? What if they do not believe? What if they demand food now, not a promise for tomorrow?" His eyes filled with fear. "What if I fail them?" The leader's gaze was steady, sharp but calm, his voice deep. "Then you must choose what kind of leader you will be. One who feeds their people for a day, or one who saves them for a lifetime. One who listens to hunger, or one who listens to the soil." The words struck the child like thunder. His chest tight, his breath short, he wanted to argue, but the silence of the humans pressed on him, their faces strong, their stance unshaken. They had already chosen long ago. They had already paid the price of failure. They would not let him forget it. The woman with steel eyes stepped forward, her tone fierce. "Do not think this is easy, child. Respect is harder than greed. Patience is heavier than hunger. You will suffer. Your people will doubt you. But if you protect the seed, if you protect the soil, you will give them more than food. You will give them a future." The child's throat burned. Tears pressed at his eyes. He clutched the seed tighter, whispering, "But I am only one, only a child. How can I carry the weight of a world?" The woman's eyes softened just a little, her voice still sharp but warmer. "Even the tallest tree begins as one seed. Even the greatest field begins with one hand planting. You may be small, but small things can grow, if they are given respect." The child's heart trembled, her words sinking deep. He felt the seed pulse in his hand, as if it breathed, as if it waited for his choice. He looked again at the dead field, endless, silent, lifeless, and then at the living field behind them. Bright, strong, alive, the difference struck him hard. It was choice, nothing else. Choice made the difference between life and death. He whispered to himself, "My people take and take, but I will not. I will carry, I will guard, I will give back." His eyes lifted to the humans, determination flickering in his voice. "I will try even if I fail. I will try." The leader stepped closer, his face calm but strong, his hand resting on the child's shoulder, heavy but steady. "Then you are ready, little one. Not because you are strong, not because you are wise, but because you understand the weight of choice. That is what makes you worthy of the seed." The child's chest swelled, a strange fire inside him, not hunger, not greed, but resolve. Fragile but burning, he nodded, holding the seed tight. "I will protect it. I will protect the soil." The humans stepped back slowly, their circle loosening, their eyes still locked on him. The air felt lighter, but the weight in his hand did not fade. If anything, it grew, reminding him again and again, "This is not food, this is future," but doubt still lingered, whispering in the corners of his mind. What if your people take it from you? What if they plant with greed? What if they crush it before it grows? His heart raced, his steps uncertain. The leader's voice broke the silence, deep and steady. "The soil will test you. Little one, it always tests. If you are true, it will give. If you are false, it will turn to dust. The choice is yours, always yours." The child nodded weakly, fear and hope twisting together. He imagined himself returning home, showing the seed. Some would laugh, some would shout, some would demand he eat it, but he would hold it close. He would say, "This is not food, this is life," and he would protect it, even if they cursed him, even if they struck him. The woman leaned forward, her eyes sharp, her words fierce. "Remember this, child. Hunger can make thieves, but respect makes guardians. Which will you be?" The child's breath shook, but his answer came steady. "I will be a guardian." The humans stepped back farther, the circle broken now, the field stretching wide around them, the sky heavy with clouds, the wind stirring the soil, carrying whispers of memory. The child clutched the seed to his chest, the weight of choice pressing into his heart. But as he looked toward the horizon, a new fear grew. Darker, sharper. He thought of his people's greed, their hunger louder than reason. He thought of their endless taking, their anger, their despair, and he wondered, will they let me protect it, or will they destroy it before it grows? The leader's eyes seemed to read his thoughts, his voice calm but warning. "The greatest danger you face is not the soil, not the sky, not even us. It is your own people. Their hunger will test you more than we ever could. Are you ready for that?" The alien child's lips trembled, his hands clutching the seed tighter. He whispered, "I do not know, but I will try." The humans said no more. They turned slowly back to their fields, their steps steady, their silence unbroken, leaving the child at the edge of the dead land, the seed burning in his hand, the weight of two worlds pressing on his small shoulders. And as the wind howled through the cracked soil, the child realized his journey was only beginning, because now he did not carry hunger. He carried hope, fragile, heavy, and dangerous. And somewhere deep inside, the soil itself seemed to whisper, "We will see if you are worthy." The alien child walked away from the human fields, his steps slow, his chest heavy, the seed hidden safely in his hands. Every step felt longer than the last. Every breath carried the weight of choice. Behind him, the humans watched without words, their silence a warning, their silence a blessing. The child looked once more at the green fields, alive and strong, then at the gray, dead soil beside it, broken and empty. The difference carved itself deep into his heart. "This is what I must carry home," he thought. "This is the truth my people must learn." The journey back to his world was long, shadows stretching across endless land, hunger gnawing at his small body. But the child never opened his hand, never loosened his grip. The seed stayed safe, its fragile weight reminding him, not food, but future. At last he reached his people's land. The caves dark, the soil lifeless, the air heavy with smoke and despair. Eyes turned toward him, hollow eyes, desperate eyes, voices rising in anger and need. "What did you bring? What did you take? Where is the food?" The child's hands shook, his voice small but steady. "I did not bring food. I brought something greater. I brought a seed." He opened his palm, showing the tiny life, so small it almost seemed nothing at all. The crowd gasped, some laughed bitterly. "A seed? We cannot eat that. We cannot chew promises, we are starving." Others shouted with anger, You went to the humans, you touched their ground, and all you bring is this? You are a fool, a thief who failed. The child's heart pounded, fear clawing at him, but he remembered the human's words. He remembered the woman's sharp voice. Respect makes guardians. He lifted his chin, his voice firmer. This seed is life, not for today, but for tomorrow if we protect it. It will feed us forever. If we guard it, it will give us hope. The crowd murmured, doubt and anger twisting together. Some turned away, shaking their heads. Others whispered, he is mad, he is weak, we cannot wait. We cannot trust the soil. Their words cut deep. But the child stood tall, clutching the seed tighter. He walked to the edge of the dead land, the soil cracked and cold. He knelt down. Pressing his small hands into the dust, he remembered the leader's warning. The soil will test you. He closed his eyes, whispering softly, please, live again, please. Hear me. He placed the seed gently, covering it with care, his tears falling into the ground. Days passed, the people mocked him. They shouted, they starved. But the child returned every morning, every night, watering the soil with what little water he found, guarding it from greedy hands, whispering to it with hope. The hunger inside him burned, but he never touched it. He never gave up. Then one morning, under the pale sun, a small green sprout broke the soil, tiny, fragile, but alive. The child gasped, his heart leaping. He called out, look! Look, it grows. The people gathered, their eyes wide, their voices silent. They saw life where there had been only dust. The child's voice shook but carried strong. This is what humans protect, this is what they guard. Not for today, but for tomorrow. This is the strength of soil, and we must learn it, we must protect it, or we will die like the dust. Slowly, doubt turned to wonder, wonder turned to hope. The people knelt beside him, their hollow eyes filling with light. For the first time in years, they saw green, they saw life. The sprout grew day by day, strong and tall, roots reaching deep, leaves opening wide. The people began to guard it, to water it, to keep it safe. They learned slowly, painfully. But they learned, and the alien child, once called foolish, once mocked as weak, became the seed-bearer, the guardian, the one who carried life from another world, the one who taught his people the lesson of soil. Far across the stars, humans watched from their fields, their eyes steady, their silence unbroken. They knew their lesson had been carried. Their strength had crossed the void, not by war, not by conquest, but by respect, and so the story spread, whispered across worlds, not of human weapons, not of human ships, but of human soil. The ground they guarded, the life they protected, the unity that made them unbreakable. Aliens feared their weapons, but learned to fear something greater, their wisdom, their memory, their fierce protection of the earth beneath their feet. For humans were not feared because they conquered. Humans were feared because they defended, because they guarded what mattered most, because they turned dirt into life and life into strength. The alien child stood by the growing plant, his small hands resting on the soil, his eyes bright with tears and hope, and he whispered the words he had learned, words that would guide his people forever. Soil is not dirt, it is life, it is memory, it is strength, and I will protect it always. And as the green leaves rose higher, swaying gently in the wind, the soil itself seemed to breathe again, whispering its silent truth. Humans protect, and because of that, humanity endures.